Okay, so good day, everyone. Have a blessed Sunday, no? Our topic for today is efficient capital markets, no? Behavioral finance and technical analysis, no? So efficient capital markets or ECM refers to the financial market in which security prices fully reflect all available information at any point in time. No? So the concept is based on the idea that market applicants and participants, sorry, act rationally uh, uh, and that security pieces respond no, instantly to new information, ensuring that there are no opportunities for excessive profit through arbitrage. No? When markets are efficient, no, investors cannot consistently achieve return that exceed average market returns on a risk-adjusted basis because prices already incorporate and reflect all relevant data. The concept of efficient capital markets serve as the basis for various investment theories, including portfolio management and asset pricing. So it is also implies that market anomalies or abnormal returns are temporary as prices adjust quickly once the underlying factors are widely known. So investor and analysts who attempt to beat the market must believe that markets are not always efficient either because of incomplete information or possibly irrational investor behavior. And to give us more details about the topic, let us all welcome our presenter this afternoon.
Ah, Good afternoon po, Doc Bante and colleagues. So, ang presentation ko po, yun po, about ECM, Behavioral Finance and Technical Analysis. So, learning objectives, first, understand the different forms of market efficiency and investment strategies against ECM. Second, recognize key behavioral biases in financial decision-making and how this can lead to market anomalies. And third, understand technical analysis tools and how to apply them in trading and investment decisions. So, ayun, what is ECM or efficient capital market? It is a theory wherein a market security prices fully reflect all available information. This implies that it's impossible to consistently outperform the market over the long term using publicly available information. So, in other words, in ECM, yung market is efficient na nga. So, yung all information that could affect na yung security prices already included na sa current market value nito. So, therefore, na wala nang opportunity for investors para mag-earn pa ng higher returns or higher profit by analyzing pa yung mga publicly available information. So, merong tatlong forms ng market efficiency in ECM. Ito yung weak form, semi-strong form, and strong form. Sa weak form, ina-assume nito na yung financial assets prices incorporate all historical information into current prices. Yung mga historical information, ito yung mga past price data, past volume, or past trends ng security prices. So in this form, ang assumption niya is uses na yung analysis pa ng mga past prices like para i-predict yung future price movement, since yung idea is that any patterns or trends from historical prices are already included na nga sa current price. So, making it impossible pa sa mga investor na mag-earn ng excess return based on the past price data alone. So, for example, yung for example, sa stock market, yung movement ng price is like flipping of a coin. So, in weak form, ina-assume na yung market is yung past outcome ng coin flip or yung movement ng stock price tells us nothing about the future flip or yung movement ng future movement ng stock price. So this means na if we predict yung future prices based on how the price moves in the past, like using yung mga chart or trend analysis, it won't work because whatever happened na in the past in this form is already included in the current price. So for investors, they already know na rin yung mga past data kung ano yung nangyari nung last year or kung ano yung movement last year, kung ano yung kung tumaas ba or bumaba. So nag-adjust na rin sila doon sa pangyari na yun accordingly. So using yung past trends in weak form will not help us or it is useless to beat the market. Then in semi-strong form naman, ang assumption is stock prices incorporate all publicly available information. So ito both historical and yung current public information. So yung current information bukod sa historical data, ito yung mga public news, financial reports, and mga announcements. So ang assumption naman dito sa form na to, analyzing publicly available information like companies' earning reports, or yung mga economic forecast is useless because the market is already included that information. So kahit na i-analyze natin yung public financial data para i-value yung stocks, yung we as an investor won't help us para ma-outperform yung market under this semi-strong form. So for example, merong certain company na meron silang in-announce na big earnings, or meron nangyaring big news about the economy na lumabas sa public. So in semi-strong form, na-assume na yung stock price has already adjusted instantly dun sa news na yun. So by the time na yung investor is mag-react dun sa information na nalaman nila, the price has already moved. So because yun nga, the moment na yung news is lumabas sa public, of course maraming mga investors na nakakita na nun, nakabasa na nun, and they make a buy and sell decision na based on it. So yung collective reaction na yun, pwedeng mag-result yun in the movement ng price either up or down. So instant siyang mag-move under this semi-strong form. Yun yung assumption niya. Then in strong form naman, assumption is stock prices incorporate all information, private as well as public. So for example, may kakilala ka na tao, or for example, yung may kakilala kang na nag-work sa isang certain company na gusto mong pag-investan. Tapos yung tao na yon, may nalalaman siya na confidential information about that company. Kunyari, merong upcoming merger or meron silang new product na ilalabas. So, in strong form, na-assume doon na yung confidential information na yon is already included na rin sa current stock price. So, kahit na meron kang nalalaman na secret information, it won't help you make up extra profit. Since here in strong form, yung theory assumes that prices reflects na yung all information kahit private man or public. So, since, ayun nga, sa ECM, so yung assume niya nga is perfectly efficient yung market. So, paano mag-earn ng profit yung mga investors? So, ang mga investment strategies, in weak form, ito yung strategy. Fundamental analysis strategy. So, here, since yung past data is useless in weak form, ang pwedeng gawin ng mga investor is pwede nilang evaluate yung financial health ng company. For example, i-analyze nila yung earnings, pwedeng yung revenue or yung growth potential ng company para ma-determine nila yung asset worth or yung mismong intrinsic value ng company. For example, in-study mo yung company's financial statement, yung current FS nila, then na-discover mo na yung earnings nila is nag-grow. So, and na-notice mo rin na yung growth na yon is hindi pa nakikita or na-recognize ng market. So, ang ginawa mo, bumili ka na ng stock. Once nalaman mo, bumili ka dun sa company na yun ng stock. Once nalaman mo yun, so, since yung value na is ini-expect mo na mag-i-increase siya once nalaman nyo ng public. So, yun yung pwedeng strategy under weak form. Then, in semi-strong naman, ang pwedeng strategy is insider information, unique insight. So, dito naman, ang kailangan, since ito public information is useless, so ang kailangan natin is private information or very specialized analysis na goes beyond sa publicly available data. For example, industry expert ka and nalaman mo na yung isang certain technology company is meron silang quietly na dinedevelop na breakthrough product. And at that time na nalaman mo yun is hindi pa fully aware or hindi pa fully na-understand ng market yung impact ng product na ginagawa ng company na yon. So, yung ginawa mo, bumili ka ng share early once nalaman mo yun. And of course, since breakthrough nga yun, pag lumabas na yun sa public, yung pwede kang mag-earn ng profit or mag-earn ka ng profit. So, yun yung for semi-strong. Then for strong form naman, ang investment strategy are in diversification and long-term investing. So ito, na-discuss na to ni Sir Noel before. Diversification, investing in broad asset or broad portfolio of stocks. So ayun, mag-invest ka sa, since it's in strong form, consider siya as very perfect na, as in perfect talaga. So ang mga pwede mo lang gawin dito is hindi mo i-outperform yung market o ibibit mo, kundi ima-match mo lang yung overall market returns. So, and magagawa mo lang yun by investing in diversified portfolio of stocks. So, ay. And common criticism naman of the concept of ECM. So, meron iba't ibang criticism. First, under behavioral finance challenges. So, ito yung investor are irrational. So, here, kasi nga sa behavioral finance, sinasuggest na yung investors are not always rational. So, because of that, kinikriticize nga yung ECM since yung thinking ng or yung behavior ng investors can be led by pwede silang mag-overreact or underreact based sa information na nalaman nila due to influence ng emotion, ng biases and heuristic. And sa herding behavior naman, ito naman yung tinatawag na yung parang pag may hype susunod. So parang yun nga following the crowd. So due to that, pwede siyang mag-lead sa overreaction to news and creating bubbles and crashes. So, because of that, yung biglaang parang porket may nalaman ka nang na, uy, uso to, parang gano'n, susunod ka, tapos parang try ko nga to, parang gano'n. So, parang pwede siyang mag-lead sa, of course, padalos-dalos ang decision and pwedeng mag-result yun ng mispricing of asset in terms of in the market. Then, under market anomalies naman, ito naman yung yung anchoring bias naman, ito naman, investors may anchor their expectations to past prices, leading to underreaction to new information. So same din siya sa herding, it can create opportunities for mispricing. Yung anchoring, yun yung parang parang behavior ng tao na heavily relying sa initial information pa lang na nalalaman nila na hindi parang nag-decide na sila agad na mag-invest na sila porket hype. Hindi man lang nila inanalyze pa yung mga parang underlying information kung tama ba yung decision nila, parang gano'n. Then sa market anomalies, momentum effects, dito, stocks that have performed well in the past tend to continue to outperform and vice versa. So ayun nga, we all know naman na yung past, yung last before yung stock price na ganito is pataas yung trend niya, hindi naman palaging pataas, so pwede rin siyang bababa, pabago-bago siya. So in this criticism, this suggests that market may not fully efficient in reflecting all information. Then value effect, ito naman, stock price with low price to book ratios or low price to earning ratios tend to outperform the market over the long term. So here it suggests na yung market may not always accurately price asset based on fundamentals. Then in size effect, smaller companies tend to outperform larger companies, suggesting that market efficiency may be limited. And calendar effects, to naman, stocks tends to perform better at certain times of year or week, suggesting that there may be patterns in market behavior that are not fully explained by efficient market theory. Then another criticism, transaction cost and market friction. It refers to factors that can hinder the efficiency ng markets and limit the ability ng investor to exploit yung mispricing opportunities. So in trading cost, ito yung mga expenses na na-incurred when buying or selling securities like brokerage fee, taxes, and exchange fees. So pag mataas yung transaction cost, pwede siyang marireduce niya yung profitability ng trade and pwedeng malimit yung ability ng investors to take advantage ng small-scale mispricing. Then in information asymmetry naman, this occurs when different market participants have unequal access to information. For example, insider may have access to non-public information that can give them an advantage over other investors. So this can limit market efficiency as prices may not fully reflect all relevant information in reality. So contrary siya sa theory na ECM na perfectly efficient yung market. Then market impact. Large trades and can move prices, making it difficult to execute trades without incurring costs. So this can limit the ability of investors to exploit mispricing as their actions may themselves cause the price to move against them. And then another criticism, limited in terms of limited data methodology. So ito namang criticism na to, it refers to challenges naman in studying and testing ng efficiency ng market. So in data limitations, so sinasabi nito na yung data used to study the market efficiency may be limited or biased. So for example, yung historical data may not accurately reflect current market conditions, and data on small caps stocks or emerging markets may be less readily available. Then in methodology issues, the method used to test for market efficiency may be flawed or subject to criticism. So for example, some studies may rely on assumptions that may not hold true in the real world or in reality, or they may not account for certain factors that can influence yung actual market behavior. So itong mga criticism na to, hina-highlight lang nito yung mga potential na limitation ng ECM theory, and sinasuggest na yung market may not be perfectly efficient in all circumstances. So yun yung sa common criticism. Then real-world anomalies that challenge the idea of market efficiency. In terms of market bubbles, about stock market bubble during 2020 to 2021, during the pandemic, low interest rates and high liquidity led to a surge in stock prices, creating concerns about a potential bubble. The Philippine Stock Exchange Index saw significant gains despite economic challenges. So in this scenario, this suggests that yung market prices may have been overvalued during this period, deviating yung from the purely efficient market. Then in price overreaction naman yung during COVID-19 pandemic, the initial outbreak led to panic buying and significant price overreactions in essential goods like face masks, alcohol, and basic food items. Price spikes dramatically due to sudden surges. So ito naman, this rapid and exaggerated na reaction or price reaction sa mga essential goods na to suggest that the market were not always rational, or the market price were not always rational or efficient, as yun nga may influensya ng mga emotional factors and short-term demand surges. Then other anomaly in terms of elections, so the Philippines had experienced various election-related anomalies, including vote buying and electoral fraud. These practices have been a concern in ensuring fair and transparent election. So for example, if a corrupt government is elected, it could implement yung mga policies that negatively impact yung economy, and of course maglilid yun sa decline ng stock prices. Then next subtopic is behavioral finance. So what is behavioral finance? It is a field of study that combines psychology, economics to understand how human emotions and cognitive biases influence financial decision making. It recognizes that investors are not always rational and may make decisions based on factors other than purely objective information. So in simple term, yung behavioral finance nire-recognize na yung emotion, yung belief and biases na which can play a significant role on how people make financial choices. So yung behavioral behavioral finance is in contrast with traditional finance. So in traditional finance kasi ina-assume nun na yung investors are rational and make decision based solely on expected returns and risk. So parang ito yung human brain. So in traditional, ang ina-assume niya is ang ginagamit lang ng tao is, or parang ang focus lang ng tao na function is yung rational thinking. Well, sa behavioral naman, kino-consider niya not only rational but also yung emotion ng tao, which can influence financial choices. Then example ng behavioral biases in action. So in terms of overconfidence bias, during the pre-pandemic bull market. Bull means yung strong uptrend ng stock price. Many Filipino investors exhibited overconfidence bias, believing they could consistently outperform the market. This led to excessive trading and risk taking, which resulted in significant losses when the market corrected. So, so dito, in this case, investors believe na yun nga, ma-outperform nila yung market. Ka- pero yung historical data kasi na noong time na to is sinasuggest that it's difficult to do so since uh, consistently nga in reality. Then in herd behavior naman, yung cryptocurrency craze ng 2017-2018, many Filipino investors jumped on the cryptocurrency bandwagon during 2017-2018 boom, driven by herd behavior. The fear of missing out or FOMO led to a surge in investment in cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, which later experienced a sharp decline. So, so dito naman, yung herd behavior kasi yun nga, yun yung parang individuals follow the crowd. So, in this case, yung investors were influenced ng hype surrounding yung cryptocurrency that time. So, invested heavily, nag-invest sila doon heavily, even though there were significant uncertainty and potential significant losses nung nangyari, nung time na yun. And another example, yung loss aversion in real estate market. Filipino investors often exhibit loss aversion in the real estate market. They are more likely to hold onto properties even when the prices are falling, fearing the realization of loss. This behavior can lead to prolonged periods of holding onto underperforming assets. So ang example nito yung mga nakikita natin ng mga na parang puro damo na bahay, house and lot, parang gano'n na walang nakatira. So yung parang nakatenga na lang. So yun nga, parang due to fear nga ng loss, fear of loss or yung loss aversion, mag-result yun sa missed opportunity for better investment since naka-hold lang siya doon. Then anchoring bias in terms of initial public offerings. When new companies go public, Philippine investors often anchor their expectations to the initial offering prices. This can lead to irrational decision making, such as holding onto stocks despite poor performance simply because the price is anchored to the IPO value. So, yun yung mga example ng behavioral biases. Ano yung impact nun in investment decisions? First, it can lead to suboptimal portfolio allocation. Investors may allocate more to familiar or overvalued assets due to overconfidence or anchoring. So this means that they might invest in stocks they know well or those that have performed well in the past, even if they are not the best option for their portfolio for the current for in the present. So, and another impact is excessive risk taking. Overconfidence and herding behavior can lead to taking on more risk than appropriate. So investors may believe na they can outsmart the market or follow the crowd without considering the potential risk. So yun yung other impact. Then another, selling winners too early and holding losers too long. Loss aversion can prevent investors from selling underperforming investments. So we all know, we as people often hate na ma-admit yung mga mga mistake na nagawa natin, and kunyari as an investor, pwede kang mag-hold on to losing investments in hopes na ma-recoup mo yung mga losses mo. So yun yung parang another impact. Then chasing performance naman, investors may chase past performance which can lead to buying high and selling low. So this means na they may invest in stocks that have done well recently. So parang, yun nga, same lang siya dito, but may be overvalued and likely to decline na as parang in the present. So, so yun yung behavioral finance po. Then, technical analysis naman. So, what is technical analysis? It is a method of evaluating securities by analyzing statistical trends in trading activity, typically involving price movements and volume. It is used to identify trading and investment opportunities by studying past price data and patterns to predict future price movement. Purpose, first, identify yung trends and patterns, recognizing recurring price movements that can indicate future price direction. So for example, if yung stock price has been consistently rising over a period, it may suggest a strong uptrend movement or bullish trend. Then another purpose helps determine support and resistance level. Yung support and resistance level, ito yung mga price points or price level kung saan maganda yung buying and selling opportunities or malakas yung buying and selling opportunities. Then another is time entry and exit points. It can find optimal points to buy or sell securities based on price action and technical indicators. So, how it differs to fundamental analysis? Yung fundamental analysis, ito yung method kung saan in-evaluate nito yung intrinsic value or yung asset worth by determining yung by using yung mga factors like yung FS companies by analysis ng mga FS, company management, industry trend and economic conditions. So, anong pagkakaiba ng technical analysis sa fundamental? So, tatlo yung pagkakaiba nila, focus, data, and goals. Sa focus, yung fundamental analysis, ang focus niya is intrinsic value based on company fundamentals. While sa technical analysis, price movement and market psychology. Then in data naman, ang fundamental analysis, focus, ang data is FS, industry trends, economic data. While in technical analysis, historical price data, trading volume, and technical indicators. And in goal, fundamentals identify undervalued or overvalued securities, while in technical analysis, it predicts future price movement. So ano yung basic assumptions of technical analysis? So, merong apat based on my research. First, yung the stock market discounts everything. So, in this assumption, it suggests na all information about company, industry, and overall economy is already included in the stock price. So, and second, the price moves in trend. And in this assumption, it states that prices tend to move in trend, either up, down, or sideways. So, it believed that identifying and following these trends can provide profitable trading opportunities. And third assumption, the how is more important than why. So in technical analysis, it focuses on the price action and patterns rather than kung ano yung reason kung bakit gumalaw yung price and stock price. Then fourth assumption, history tends to repeat itself. Ito naman, this assumption suggests that past price patterns and trends can be indicative of future price movements. So, in technical analysis, study yung historical data para ma-identify yung mga recurring patterns and gagamitin yung mga recurring patterns na yon para mag-make ng prediction. Ito naman yung mga technical analysis tools. So, first, merong volume analysis. Volume analysis sa method na ginagamit para ma-assess yung trading activity and potential market sentiment behind price movements. So, ito yung example ng technical analysis using volume analysis. So, nakikita nyo dito, ito yung candlestick chart, and yung candlestick na to, ito yung tinatawag nating movement ng price over a specific period. Then yung sa baba, ito naman yung volume bar. So ito naman yung nire-represent naman ito yung trading volume for each time period. So by analyzing yung relationship ng price movement tsaka ng volume, yung mga traders or investor can gain insights into market sentiment and potential trading opportunities. So yung mga key indicator na need nila i-watch pag ginagamit nila ang volume analysis. First, yung volume, of course. Then yung number na shares traded in a given period. Then volume spikes, it can indicate increased interest or buying, selling, or selling pressure. So, pag may volume spike kasi or significant increase in trading volume, nag-represent usually ng ito yung mga matataas na green tall volume bar. So yun yung mga volume spikes, which ayun nga nag-indicate siya ng potential selling and buying opportunity. Then volume confirmation, it can confirm or refute price trend. So ito naman yung comparing the volume to the price movement. So if yung price is rising, and the volume is also increasing, sinasuggest na yung strong uptrend ng stock price. And conversely, if yung price is falling, yung volume is low, indicate na lack of selling pressure and a potential for a reversal. Then another technical analysis tool is chart pattern. So meron apat na common chart pattern. First, head and shoulders. So ito yung a reversal pattern that indicates a potential trend reversal. So ito yung example lang head and shoulder na chart. So as you can see, may tatlong peak siya. Yung higher peak or yung middle peak in yung head, then yung dalawang lower peak yung left and right shoulder. So using this chart or pattern, if the price breaks below nung peak na yon, tatlong peak na yon, na itong line na to, it suggests na merong potential na bearish reversal, or kung previously pataas siya, biglang magbabaliktad yun, magiging pababa na yun. So, yun yung indication niya. Yun yung indication pag may head and shoulder na pattern. Merong magbabaliktad yung trend. Then, another chart pattern, double top or bottom, a reversal pattern that signals a potential change in direction after reaching a high or low point. So, ito naman yung example ng double top. So, yan. Parang same lang din siya sa head and shoulder, pero dito, dalawa lang yung peak niya. So, either two double top or, either double top or double bottom. Pwedeng pa ganun din. So, in this one, yun nga, another reversal pattern siya, kagaya siya kay head and shoulder, na kapag may ganito, pag sa ilalim nito, pag yung price is na-reach niya yung below ng price break or ng double top, it suggests na merong potential reversal. So, yun din. So, same din siya sa head and shoulder. Then, another chart pattern, triangles, consolidation patterns that can indicate a breakout or breakdown. So, ito naman yung example ng ng triangles na chart pattern. So, dalawa siya, ascending or descending. So, for triangles naman, they characterized ng converging lines that form a triangle shape on the chart. So, if the price breaks out of the triangle, either pag upside, of course, it is a tinatawag na bullish trend continuation or strong trend upward continuation na trend ng stock price. Then pagka nag-breaks out naman siya downside, it suggests a bearish continuation or downward or strong downtrend or downward trend ng stock price. Then last type ng chart pattern, flags and pennants, continuation patterns that suggest a continuation of the existing trend. So ito naman, pag may ganitong chart pattern, sa dalawa siya, flags and pennants. So, yung flags, at rectangular shape siya, while pennants naman, triangular shape. So, by recognizing these chart patterns, investors or trader can identify yung potential trading opportunities and make informed decisions about selling or buying or selling. So, pag may ganitong pattern, it suggests na mayroong continuous trend. So, kung pataas siya, continuous lang yan. So, and pag baba, continuous na bababa yung stock price. Then, another technical analysis tool is technical indicators. So, ito yung mga common na mga technical indicators. First, moving averages. Ito, smooth out price fluctuations and identify trends. So, ito yung example ng moving average na analysis. So, as you can see dito sa example chart, merong 200 period moving average and 21 period moving average. Yung 200-day yung formula pala sa pag-compute ng, yung pag-compute ng moving average is, i-average lang yung mga closing prices over a specific period. Kunyari yung mga closing price, ipag-add mo lang yan per per period kung ano ina-analyze mo. Then kukunin mo lang yung average niya kung ano yung kunyari kung 12, 20 days, 30 days, kung ilang days yung ina-analyze mo na closing prices. So dito sa example, ang dito nakikita niyo yung 200 period moving average and 21 period. Yung 200 period kasi yun yung parang pinaka-popular na ginagamit sa pag-compute ng sa pag-compute ng moving average in a technical indicator. So ginamit tong 200 period 200 day period MA para i-analyze yung long-term trend ng movement ng price. While yung 21 period, ito naman commonly ginagamit siya para i-analyze naman yung short-term trend ng movement ng price. Then another technical indicator, relative strength index, it measures the speed and change of price movements to identify overbought or oversold condition. So ito naman yung sorry, ito pala. Ito naman example ng RSI, relative strength index. So yan. Ito yung bali yung yun dito nakikita niyo yung overbought and oversold. Pag ibig sabihin ng overbought, sorry. Sorry. Ibig sabihin ng overbought, or oversold, yung mga potential reversal ito, or sign yun na, sorry, kung bakit ba natin need malaman yung overbought or oversold, need natin malaman yun para ma-identify natin yung mga potential reversal or sign na baka mag-i-end na yung trend. Kunyari, pataas siya before, matatapos, mangyayari, mag-i-end na yung trend and mangyayari sa susunod, pababa na yan. So, yun yung, kaya natin need malaman yung overbought and underbought ay oversold condition. Yung sa RSI, yung reading na reading na above 70, considered na siyang overbought. While yung below 30, considered na siya na overbought. So dito sa example, yung movement na mangyayari sa taas na dito banda is considered na siyang overbought, and sa below, dito sa ilalim is considered na siyang oversold. So if ever na yung price is tumaas papunta dito, ang i-suggest nun is hindi maganda mag-invest since overbought na nga siya. And ganoon din sa oversold. Then, moving average, convergence, divergence, compares two moving averages to identify trend changes and potential reversals. So, ayun. Ito naman yung example ng MACD. So dito, nakikita nyo yung dalawa. Dito naman, signal line and MACD line. Yung signal line, this moving average ng MACD line. So it acts as a filter to identify more yung significant trend changes. So pagka yung MACD line, nag-cross siya above ng signal line, it suggests a potential bullish or uptrend reversal. While pagka naman nag-cross yung MACD line below ng signal line, it suggests naman a potential bearish trend reversal. So if ang MACD line naman and yung price moves in the opposite direction, it's known as a divergence. So a bullish divergence occurs when the price is making new lows, but the MACD line is making higher lows. Then a bearish divergence occurs naman when the price is making new highs, but the MACD lines making lower highs. So yung divergence can signal a potential reversal din ng trends. The last type ng technical indicator, yung stochastic oscillator. So it compares a security's closing price to its range over a certain period to identify overbought and oversold conditions. So same lang din siya sa RSI. So bali ang kaibahan lang ng stochastic oscillator is hindi siya masyadong na-affect sa fluctuation ng short-term fluctuation ng prices. So, ito siya. Same lang din, overbought and overbought. Bali dito sa stochastic, ang ano naman niya, reading naman niya, pagka above 80, considered overbought, then kapag below 20, considered oversold. So, yung mga indicators na yan, paano siya ginagamit in trading decisions? So in terms of identifying trends, yung ginagamit dito is yung MA and MACD. So in MA, when a price crosses above longer term moving average, it may signal a bullish trend, while if crossing below, it may indicate a bearish trend. Then in MACD, divergence between MACD line and signal line can suggest potential trend reversal. Then in terms of determining yung overbought and oversold condition naman, ang pwedeng gamitin is yung RSI and stochastic oscillator. So ayun nga, yung sa RSI, yung reading na above 70, considered na siyang overbought, while yung below 30, considered oversold. Then dito sa isa, stochastic oscillator, reading above 80 and below 20 suggests overbought and oversold. Then in terms of analyzing yung confirmation ng price trend, hindi, ang tool na gagamitin is yung volume analysis. So a significant increase in volume can confirm a price trend. For example, a rising price with increasing volume suggests strong buying pressure. Then in terms of generating trading signals, pwedeng gamitin is combination ng mga technical indicators na yan. So traders often use multiple indicators in combination to generate more reliable signals. So, for example, a bullish crossover or moving averages combined with a rising RSI or relative strength index might indicate a strong buying signal. Then to know naman yung time entry and exit point, titignan yung mga breakouts and pullbacks. So when the price breaks above a resistance level or yung price point or below a support level, it can signal a potential trend change. And pullbacks naman, after a strong price move, a pullback to a previous support or resistance level can offer a potential buying opportunity. So ito naman, application of technical analysis. So sample scenario, a Filipino investor is interested in trading shares of PNB or Philippine National Bank. To make informed decisions, they decide to use technical analysis to analyze the stock price movements and identify potential trading opportunities. So in this scenario, for example, ito yung steps na ginawa nila. Wait lang po, sorry, malulubat na ako. Wait lang po. Saksak mo nga. Tapos, so ang steps na ginamit, first, in technical analysis, first, collecting mga historical data. So, yung investor, pwede siya mag-gather ng mga historical price data for PNB stocks, like yung closing prices, yung high, lows, and trading volume. Then, yung charting naman, ang next step, is i-chart niya na yon. So, ipaplot niya sa chart. So, for example, paggamit ng candlestick chart or mga line chart. Then after i-plot sa chart, identifying the trends na. So, yung investor, mag-look siya ng mga trends sa price movement ng PNB stocks kung meron bang mga uptrend or downtrend or mga past sideways na movements. Then after ma-identify na investors yung mga trend, pwede na siyang gumamit ng mga technical indicators. So for example, ito yung mga technical indicators na ginamit niya. Moving average, so ito ginamit nila yung moving average para ma-identify yung overall trend, direction, and potential support or resistance level. Then ginamit din nila yung RSI para ma-determine yung kung saan banda yung overbought or oversold. And ginamit nila yung MACD para ma-identify naman kung merong mga potential trend changes or reversals. Then once na gamitin nila yung trend indicators, i-identify nila yung chart kung meron mga patterns like head and shoulders, kung meron bang double top, triangles or flags and pennants. Then after that, pwede na silang mag-conduct ng trading decision. So for example, na-observe, ito yung naging result ng chart technical analysis nila. So may nakita silang uptrend. So the price of PNB stocks has been steadily increasing over the past few months. So pataas siya din. Meron ding moving average crossover. So dito ang ginamit nilang period, ang ina-analyze nila na movement na stock is 50-day period lang. And then for short term, then ginamit sila ng 200-day 200-day period for analysis naman ng long-term trend. So by using that two, may nakita silang bullish signal or ayan, upward trend din. Then yung sa RSI naman, nakita din nila na above na siya ng 70. So dito, hindi mga 100 kasi to banda. So above siya ng 70 na nagsasuggest siya na overbought na yung stock. Then meron ding nakitang head and shoulder na pattern. So ito yung head, then ito yung left and right shoulder. So which nagsasuggest na magkakaroon ng reversal pattern. So nakita natin pataas to and continuously bababa na yung trend na yan. Dahil nga merong reversal o ito yung head and shoulder na pattern na nag-indicate ng bearish trend reversal. So dito sa result ng technical analysis na to, ang decision ng investor pwedeng hindi na sila tumuloy na bumili ng new shares dun sa PNB company since merong overbought na condition at that time na gusto nila mag-invest, and it suggests na merong downside risk and hindi magandang mag-invest ng stocks. So yun po yung sa report ko. Thank you po.
Okay, thank you so much. And muna tayo, meron ako exam. Thank you.